For more now on veterans benefits and oversight over the Veterans Administration, I'm joined now by Senator Tom Coburn. Senator, thank you very much for being with us. You have your own issue with veterans benefits, which is you don't think the VA is properly overseen, and that you're concerned about how some of the benefits are distributed.
Well, Andrea, we have a lot of good people working in the VA. There's no question about it, but the level of care is not what it should be. The wait times are terrible. The delayed diagnosis are extraordinarily impacting veterans in terms of advanced cancers that could have been cured that aren't. There's just a lot of problems, and we don't have the effective oversight that we need to have, nor do we have the metrics to know how we're performing. And we don't even have the same metrics in the VA that we have in every other hospital that's mandated by Medicare. So before we go to expand the eligibility for those that can accept VA medical care, what we ought to be doing is keeping the promises that we've made to the veterans that are there today, and I can assure you we're not coming anywhere close to keeping those promises.
Now, in addition to that, I interviewed Patty Murray a couple of minutes ago, and Senator Murray is concerned about her legislation on the floor today being blocked, she says, by Republicans to expand benefits so that returning vets and their spouses can get fertility services, especially after they've been injured.
Well, I wouldn't have any problem with doing that, but that's not what this bill is about. This bill is about markedly expanding from 6 million to a potential of 22 million people on a VA organization that can't handle the 6 million that it's doing now. And so I don't have any objection to making that a benefit for those that need it. But now what we need to do before we do any expansion in the VA is we have to hold them accountable to deliver the service that's been promised to those that have been injured and have a service-connected disability. And so, you know, we know we're not going to be allowed an amendment on this bill. We've been told that by the leader. So the fact is why shouldn't there be transparency in terms of outcomes on procedures, in terms of re-hospitalization, in terms of infection rate? Why shouldn't those things be a part of VA's culture? And it should be, but it's not. And so, unfortunately, the bill brought to the floor is not going to pass, and we're not going to do what we need to do, which is know the metrics of what we're doing today so we can make good decisions about what we do in the future.
Senator, what you've got, though, are the veterans who are caught in the middle of this, because things move so slowly in Congress.
That's not true.
Okay.
Who is caught in the middle of this is the political dynamic of creating a vote that says you're against veterans when you know we're not offering the care and the commitment to the people. We have 600,000 people waiting on disability determinations. We have over 280-some thousand in an appeal process. That's 1 million veterans returning that we haven't even processed their claims. So they have no access to the VA hospital yet because their claims haven't been processed. And one of the largest processing centers is in my hometown. And those people are working like crazy to try to get those done. But where is the enhancement of taking care of that problem? In other words, what we're treating is symptoms and not the real problem.
No, what I wanted to ask you, though, about is we've been covering on this program the backlog and how it's increased exponentially, according to advocates, since the sequester, that the VA is getting farther and farther behind rather than catching up, which it had been doing. So I take your point about not expanding benefits and dealing with the backlog. I'm just saying that Congress has not made it easier to deal with the backlog. Let me just play for you a recent interview we did with Paul Rykov, whom you know represents the Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, and ask you to respond on the other side.
We need Congress to pick up this cause again, because 400,000 vets shouldn't have to wait for paperwork. And that's still what's happening right now. And I think it underscores how far we have to go before we can honestly say we support the troops. And when it comes to all these political fights, what I think Congress is seeing is that veterans groups, there's an old saying in the Marine Corps, no better friend, no worse enemy. I think that's going to be the case here. It's going to be the case going forward. And we know that the American people are going to stand with us, just like they did on the shutdown and again in the backlog.
Now, I know you're a physician, and you're a rare case in Congress. You know what the effects are for, as you were pointing out, for these troops who have diseases that need to be treated. So what is the solution here?
The solution is effective oversight. The Senate Veterans Affairs Committee held 16 hearings last year. Only 4 of them were oversight, and if you actually read the transcripts, none of those were rigorous oversight. So what you do is you do oversight to find out what the real problems are, not what the symptoms of the problems are, and then you address those real problems. Contrast, the House held over 60 hearings and had 34 oversight hearings that were vigorous. Now, we have a piece of legislation on the floor that it will do the following. It'll make every veteran a priority, which means none of them will become a priority, which is exactly what we don't want to do. What you don't want to do is expand the universe till you can actually solve the problems with the universe you have today, which includes those 400. It's actually almost 600,000 waiting on their paperwork and 200 and some odd thousand in adjudication. So we need to address that paperwork. Why is that the problem? Where is the slowdown in that? What's the difficulty? Where are the hearings on that? You know, and then what is the legislation that directly addresses that problem? What we have is a political narrative so that they can say, oh, Republicans and those that don't agree with this bill are against veterans. And we're not. What I've been all along is let's do things that actually help veterans rather than play the game that say we're going to help veterans then don't.
Thank you very much, Senator. We'll follow up
You're
with
welcome.
you. Thanks for coming
bye-bye.
on today. We really appreciate it.